And now to the Iran nuclear deal. As Congress prepares to take up a resolution disapproving it next week, the president appears to have secured the votes he needs to make sure that agreement survives a challenge. And while he may hope the deal will be one of his biggest foreign policy legacies, there are many who have big concerns about it, including fears that Iran could outsource its nuclear program to a country like North Korea. Joining us now, Ambassador John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, and Fox News contributor. Thank you, as always, for joining us, Ambassador.
Glad to be with you.
The Republicans in both houses are going to introduce resolutions disapproving the Iran deal. President Obama is expected to veto. Republicans will try to override, but the Democrats in both houses are now working to build enough votes to prevent an override. Is there any way to stop this deal?
Well, I think it's baked in the cake as far as Congress is concerned, but I still think it's important to have these votes in the House and the Senate, put every member on the record one way or the other, and then the people in the 2016, 2018, 2020 elections can hold them accountable as this thing goes wrong, as I think it certainly will. The Iranians are not going to comply with their obligations under the deal. They've achieved the economic relief they want. They're on a path to nuclear weapons, and those who support the deal, I think, are going to have to answer for that.
What would you say are the biggest flaws in this deal?
Well, the principal flaw is allowing Iran to keep any uranium enrichment capability, whatever. I think anybody who's familiar with the problem of nuclear proliferation will tell you that enrichment is the long pole in the tent in the program of any would-be nuclear weapon state. So there are a lot of other things wrong with the deal, but it all flows downhill from there. Secretary Kerry was quite candid in his testimony that the Iranians said right at the beginning, unless we can enrich uranium, there's no deal. At that point, negotiations should have stopped.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Peter Brookes of the Heritage Foundation has an article out saying it is entirely possible that Iran and North Korea are working together to fill the gaps in both countries' nuclear programs. Do you agree? And if so, how troubling?
Well, we've known for quite some time, for example, that since at least 1998, Iran and North Korea have been working together on their respective ballistic missile programs, and it makes a lot of sense. The objective in both cases is to create delivery vehicles for nuclear weapons, not to launch weather or communication satellites. They both use the same Soviet-era Scud missile technology, so I think there's no doubt on that front. And I think there's considerable reason to believe that they've cooperated already on the nuclear side, too. You know, the reactor that Israel destroyed in September of 2007 in Syria was being built by North Koreans, a clone of their Yongbyon reactor. Now, the North Koreans don't give anything away for free, and they weren't in Syria because of their long cultural and historical association with Syria. Somebody was paying for that. I think there's good reason to think it was a three-way joint venture between Syria, Iran, and North Korea. And there have been a lot of other pieces of evidence like that. So I think we need to know a lot more about that connection. Obviously, we're not going to find out about it before the House and the Senate vote, but that ought to be a major congressional focus going forward.